Hi there. I want to share with you some tips for pitching yourself or your client as a guest on podcasts. And this is inspired by a post that my friend Karan Nijawan put on LinkedIn about connecting on LinkedIn. And I'll link to that post down below in the comments so that you can check that one out, because I think he has some fabulous tips. And with pitching someone on podcast, it's really about doing some homework first. So if, as a podcast host and as someone that helps other people get onto podcasts as a guest, I see both sides of this. And one of the things that I really find annoying when I get a pitch is, first of all, something that's completely templated. In fact, funny story, I got one today that was so templated that they forgot to change the name of the podcast and the name of the person they were sending it to. So it ended up not being addressed to me, Jurgen, and the Innova Buzz podcast. It was addressed to somebody else's podcast. So first of all, if you are using a template, take the time to change those things. But better still, have a listen to the podcast first and connect your guest to the podcast and the value that podcast is trying to provide to its audience. So as a podcast host, I protect my audience. My aim is to provide value to them. They spend an hour of their time each episode listening to my conversation with my guest, and they're never going to get that time back. So I want to give them huge value for that time by showcasing the guest as their best, and also by really carefully selecting the guests that we bring on. So if you're pitching a guest to me, whether it's yourself or somebody that you're working for, please tell me why that guest would be a good fit. Yes, tell me about the guest, but make it about me and my podcast's audience. That's the first tip. The second tip is to do a little bit of research up front. Listen to an episode and make that connection and make it. And the third tip, so that's the second tip. The third tip is make it easy for me. Don't make me go and research that person before I can make a decision, yes or no, they're a good fit for my podcast audience. Give me the connection, make it about my podcast audience, and make it really easy for me to make a yes-no decision. If you do all those three things, then there's a very high chance that your guest, or you, if you're pitching yourself, will land a gig on my podcast. Otherwise, I've got so many people asking, and you'll just end up in a long queue where I've got to go back and do some research before I can make a decision. And really, I don't have time for that. So I hope this has been helpful. 3 tips for getting yourself pitched on any podcast. Make it about the podcast and their audience. Connect your guest to the value they're going to provide to that podcast and the audience, and make it easy for the podcast host to make a yes-no decision. More soon. Bye for now.